Okie dokie. All right. So this is a Cam Toy update situation. Can you just hang out for a second? I appreciate your productivity, but it's just like distracting to me. Thanks, man. All right. So some updates are, well, we're going to talk real quick about how to do some sort of complex connection and hopefully not break things like it frequently does. There we go. And the getting it to, can you just hang out like it's going to be like 5 minutes, like not even. I appreciate it. Thank you. How to get it to constrain in place so that it only moves the way you want, and also some tips for doing the connection constraints. First, this boat is a super simple, just an ellipse that is this shape, and then an extrusion that is this big, then a fillet that looks like that, and then a shell that looks like that. Okay, and it takes about that long to build. You could do more complex things. The key is having a smooth surface on the bottom. It doesn't have to be flat. You could make it sort of curved on the bottom. Like if you had an arc shaped on the bottom, obviously you would need to connect it. But this would work also. Shell or whatever shape you make is probably fine. The key is it's got to be smooth on the bottom. Even if it is curved, so to speak, it's still a single face. Okay, and so constraining it, in order to constrain it, you're going to need some, oh no, hopefully it doesn't matter. Okay, some like some work planes to constrain it to. If depending on how you made the base, if the base's work plane or origin plane is off to the side, you're going to need to make a work plane that splits it down the center. And same thing with a work plane that goes the other direction. That's just to keep that boat. A lot of this is sort of faking it to make it look like it's made out of, wood or whatever. But in order to sort of keep it in place and have it look realistic, that's what we have to do. So first thing we're going to do, we need it to make sure that, what is rotate? Is it G? Make sure that it lines up in place. And so we're going to mate the boat's plane that goes that way. It's long plane to the work plane that I made, which work plane used to do new plane, but offset it from a plane, choose something on the side. And I know that this is 6 inches wide. So if I drag it over here, it's negative, I would have one at -3. And that's what I did to make this work plane. So I'm going to mate work plane 2 to the boat's long axis. Hit OK. And it's still in the middle there. And even though it moves around like this, it's still locked on the center. Now I'm going to mate the boat's axis, this axis. Think about the action that you want it to move. I want it to be able to move about this axis, like to tilt back and forth, but I never want this axis to move from the center. I don't want the boat to go this way or this way. So I'm going to mate that axis, which in my case is the x-axis, to the plane that I made going the other direction with no offset. Now it tilts like crazy, but it's still in the right location. Okay, So up until now, I've been telling you that you've needed to use a translational constraint to connect your lifters to the cams. Now, it works, but it also is a pain. You kind of have to baby it in order for it to stick with you. Truth is, you don't need to use a translational constraint. As long as the face of your lifter is smooth and the face of your cam is smooth, meaning circular or elliptical or whatever, it's one face. Even though this is curved and it goes all the way around, it's a single face, which is not the case for those that complex sort of axe wood chopping one where the shape of the cam was jagged. As long as your cam is smooth like that, you can just use a tangent constraint, which is much more consistent. So instead of using the translational and connecting that to that, you can just use a regular tangent constraint and make that to that. And as long as it doesn't crash, will be a lot more forgiving and consistent to you. And that's what we're going to do to connect the boat to the lifters, which if we do constrain tangent and tangent it to our flat, which is this, I think. Okay. And it's connected just on that. We'll do the same thing to the other one. Tangent to that. And that should work. Now, this is kind of an awkward movement because this cam is centered on the crank and this one is off-centered. So I think I showed this last time where this cam goes up and down twice for every time this one does. So it's not like a normal wave action. And I'm going to turn off the visibility on the base so that I can get a better look. Okay, but there you go. That's enough constraints to do a complex action like that. And hopefully, if you're not super inspired by this, you can figure out ways to make this sort of action work well. And you can see it sort of pop through there. That's a good old Inventor. Just grab it and drag it back and it will tend to work pretty good. Okay, and more updates to come. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, go.